Hey, this is Daniel Abreu, leader of the Abreu Group out of Realty One Group MVP. And today we're having a real special show. We have with us a very special guest star. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest fears that most real estate agents have when they are going to do a home inspection is the relative who comes, either the father or the uncle or somebody who bought a house 25 years ago, and they think that because of their experience buying that one house a few years ago, they know everything and they got the deal of the century. And now they want their niece, nephew, or whoever to go ahead and try to get the second best deal of the century. But today I have with me the uncle you can trust.
Okay, let's go.
Uncle Luke with Uncle Luke's Home Inspections. Um, you've got over 15 years of experience in the business, former developer and contractor. Why don't we start off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the business.
Sure. So I grew up on a family farm in Illinois, and on a family farm, you basically have to learn how to do everything yourself. You rarely have a chance to hire a plumber or a roofer or heating and air guy. Growing up on a farm, learning how to work on stuff with my hands. I got into construction kind of early. After college, I worked for John Deere Corporate, so I got some experience with the corporate world and how all of that works with the back office. After I moved a bunch, had enough with that, I joined my wife's dad in their construction company, starting doing remodels, new construction, some commercial development. Did that for about 15 years. So I've been constructing things and playing with tools my whole life. So that was pretty good segue. So then after I moved to Florida, I started working for U.S. Roofing, a roofing construction company, and I was their construction manager, vice president for the United States. So I traveled a lot and did a lot of roofing for about 4 years. So all of those experiences combined, I feel, make me pretty qualified to be a home inspector. So,
Well, you definitely have it's a lot of hands-on experience, and then of course
sure.
you're
Yeah.
a certified home inspector as well.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, just basically just went through the classes that they recommend online and then took the test the first time and passed it. I think a lot of times home inspectors um, they think that just going through all of the paperwork and all the classes and then passing the test makes them qualified to be a home inspector. The problem is if you don't know what's behind the walls and you don't know how to build your house yourself and you don't know plumbing and HVAC and the real practical stuff, yeah, knowing the book work is okay, but having the experience is what really counts, and it just takes a lot of time.
Amen to that. I'm here for, excuse me, I'm here for anybody with experience. So, over the years, about how many inspections do you think you've done?
I usually try to do a limit myself to like one a day. I like that schedule because I start in the morning, get my inspection done, and then in the afternoon, I can always do a reinspection or like a wind mitigation or a 4 point, just scheduling wise. I'm not a young chicken anymore. So, so one a day works well for me. I also don't charge for reinspections. So in the afternoons is usually when I need to look at something again, complimentary for the client. I do that in the afternoons, and it works well for me on scheduling. So I'd say probably three or four inspections a week.
That's pretty good.
Hmm.
Let me ask you a little bit more specific to our market. Is there anything that makes home inspections different here than other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I grew up in Illinois. Like I said, I've lived in Oklahoma, Texas, Ohio, Arkansas, um, to name a few. In Florida, you have the two H's that I tell my clients. You have the hurricanes that makes us very unique, and you have humidity. Those two, I feel, sets Florida apart from any other market. In Florida, the humidity and the temperature you keep your house is super super important because of dew point and because of your envelope and how your house reacts to that. Whether the condensation becomes a severe issue in Florida, as well.
I've got kind of a funny story
Oh, yeah,
about
I'd love
that.
to hear it.
Um, one of my best friends from law school, he came here because we studied at Ave Maria, and he moved here from Salt Lake City, two very different climates, right?
Absolutely.
So he came from Salt Lake City. We did our first year of law school, and then he was going home for the summer. Well, he was going home for the summer. He had never experienced the Florida summer. Um, so what did he do? He turned his air conditioner off before he left because he said, well, no one's going to be in the unit for
Yeah,
the next 2.5, 3 months. So why waste the energy? He never asked me or anybody else that was a local.
right.
So he just went ahead and did it and went home. And when he got back in August, the entire unit, all his furniture,
Mold,
everything
mold
was
everywhere.
covered in mold.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't understand is the mold is covering everything all the time. Right now, in your office, my office, all these walls are all covered with mold. It just doesn't have anything to grow right now. So when I touch something with my hands, the oil on my hands and the moisture from my hands, that creates in itself enough to grow under the right conditions. Within 2 days, it'll start growing something if it has moisture and humidity and all the other things it needs and warmth. So when you leave for the summer like that and you just turn everything off, you're giving everything in your house everything it needs to grow mold. Now, remember, Daniel, as you know, and some of your listeners might, in Florida, very rarely will the humidity go below 50%. Once in a while it will, but usually in the summer, it's up in the 80s, 80%, 70% humidity all day at its best. Sometimes in the morning, it might be 100% humidity and not raining. So the problem with that is when you turn the air conditioner off, you're, you're not allowing the house to get rid of any of that moisture, is what the condensation does on your coils of the air conditioner. So yeah, absolutely. And a lot of what I do is educational things like that for the homeowner. I tell them never ever put your air conditioner above 80 degrees. Don't do it. Your best thing to do is to leave it at about 78 and buy a dehumidifier, set it up on top of the countertop, put a hose into the tub or the sink.
Thank
That's your best bet, getting humidity out. And if your air conditioner is the only way to do that, don't turn the temperature up very high.
We bought one of those giant
Oh, they're
dehumidifiers.
great.
I mean, I'll tell you that was the best thing we could have bought. It's outside my office right now, just running. It is fantastic. The only thing is we didn't have a hose for it, so there's a reservoir, and I got to empty the reservoir two,
Yeah.
3 times a day. But other than that, it's perfect. I mean, it keeps the house perfect. Like I
So
don't have to worry about anything.
it's great. Yep.
So moving, you mentioned that you enjoy doing the educational part of this. Let's talk a little bit more on the educational side, just kind of big picture. Why are home inspections so important for home buyers when they're going to buy a home?
I would say, even if it's not your first home purchase, even if it's your second, third, fourth, each home is different, and no home is perfect. Even a newly built, brand new home nobody's ever lived in before, it's like a car. It's just because it's new doesn't mean you're never going to have a problem with it. And on a home inspection, what it does is tell you everything that you can know about the home as possible, both visually and looking at things that the homeowner wouldn't. So I crawl through the attic, I get up on the roof, and I know what to look for of things that you could have a problem with, and also what you get with the home inspector. for me in particular is you get a wealth of knowledge and resources. So once you're new to the area, you don't know anybody, and if you need a plumber or you need a heating and air guy, I can refer people to you. And so that's the other thing. You're just getting a contact of somebody in the industry that can help you out. If I save you one service call or some roof tiles that can be replaced before you close on the house that the seller can pay for, it pays for my services on that one thing. Um, and maybe let's say your water heater doesn't have a number, uh, manufacturer date on it. It just has a serial number. I know how to read those serial numbers to know how old it is. And I know in Florida, if the water heater is over 15 years old, you're going to have to replace it. So that can be $1,000 minimum. So if you can get that paid for by the seller and your insurance lower before you ever move into the house and get that done, that's the reasons. Those are some of the reasons to get a home inspection for sure. So you know
I
what
love
kind of
it.
windows you have, what kind of doors you have, what kind of roof you have, how it's held down. Because in Florida, the main thing, because of the the hurricane, the main thing you're going to be dealing with is homeowners insurance. And the only way to get the lowest homeowner insurance rate possible is to have an up to date 4 point and wind mitigation inspection. And the best result from those inspections are going to be if you have all of the hurricane protection that you can have. So definitely.
And yeah, I got some more questions about 4 points and the insurance that I definitely want to
Yeah,
add.
let's do it.
Um, but before we get there, so we just talked about buyers and why it's important for them. What about sellers? Do you think it's important for sellers to do any kind of a pre-listing inspection before going to market?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing one on Sunday. So I'm doing one for a realtor that uses me a lot, and the property owners have it rented out right now. And so the property management people are going to be there too. And they're having me do a pre listing inspection. So the buyer, it doesn't necessarily mean that the buyer of the house, when they sell it, has to use my home inspection. They can get their own if they want. That's fine. But the reason for it is anything I catch for a pre-listing inspection is something that any home inspector will catch when the home is sold. If you're a seller, you would rather know about everything now versus when the contract is almost up and you're trying to scramble to get things fixed that you could have fixed already. So it helps both parties. Um, it's a small price to know what other home inspectors will look for. Realtors, I think it's a great idea to do pre-inspections for sure.
I mean, you know my opinion on it. I love doing the pre-listing home inspections, specifically for the reason you just mentioned. What if it goes under contract? Their home inspector catches it, and now we're scrambling to get things done. So if we know about it ahead of time, I love it because we can either address the issue and get it fixed, which is always my preference,
Hmm.
or just price the home accordingly and disclose these issues later on to a potential buyer and
Yeah.
let them know, hey, this, just so you know, this is what's going on, but we've already factored that into the asking price now.
Well, and you can just leave my inspection, or at least the first few pages, a summary
Exactly.
on the island with your listing documents. Say, hey, we had the home inspected. Now, I'm not saying I'm never going to miss something. It might.
Everybody's human, right? I mean,
Everybody's human, sure. Um, I could have a bad hair day. You never know. But if I inspected, at least you know that I could cover or count on me getting at least 90 to 95% of the things, and anything else might be cosmetic, and those are easy to tackle. For
right.
sure. You're 100% correct. Yeah.
Let me ask, what do you think with buyers right now? What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding about the purpose of the home inspection?
The main thing, I think that the younger generation, they don't want to assume risk for anything. They're scared. It's a big purchase. And I've owned multiple homes myself, and I know you have too. It's the biggest purchase that you'll ever have. But a home inspection is not a warranty, number one. So that would be like going to buy a car from somebody and they say, "Oh, this car's fine," and then if something happens to the car, you go back to the dealership and say, "Well, I know it's not under warranty, but you said it's fine. I want a new car." That's just not how it works. Now, um, will anything happen down the road? Sure, but the more you know about your home, the better off you are. No home is perfect, even a new home. That's why state law
Oh,
requires
I got some stuff on new homes. We'll get to that.
a state law requires a home builder to give you a 1 year home warranty by law. Don't think that the home builder is saying, "Oh, I'll give you a 1 year warranty." No, they have to. And so you want me to come in at 11 months because there will be things wrong with the house, even though it's a new house. Yes, for sure. And that's the biggest misconception I hear is number one, they think it's a warranty. And number two, they think that a house is going to be perfect if it's new. And that's not the case. You're better off with a slightly used home and, and go from there and do things that you need to do to make it yours.
Yeah, I I know I got a family member who has only ever bought new construction homes. And her biggest reasoning is, oh, you go, you buy a second, you buy a resale home, you're just inheriting someone else's problems. And I I differ on that opinion. I am notorious for not being a fan of a lot of new construction out there. And my biggest reasoning is, yeah, you might not be inheriting anyone else's problems and you're getting a new home, but now you're inheriting all the problems that the builder may have not done properly and if not properly inspected. And I got a story for that too. We'll get to that in a minute.
The other
But
thing, sorry to interrupt.
go,
The other
go, go.
thing is me being a builder, and I've built a lot of homes and remodeled a lot of homes. I know that on a Friday at 4 o'clock, uh, water heater install on a Friday at 4 o'clock is a different water heater install than Monday morning at 4 o'clock. I know that.
100%.
So I understand, and I'm sympathetic with the builder to a certain degree, but I think that there's something lacking sometimes on these new home builders that they, number one, don't know how to use a reader tape measure, and they don't check, double check, reconfirm what they should be looking after. And then those are the things I catch, and I look at it and go, what were you doing? I mean, what your job is to builder. Now, I'm not saying all builders are like that,
No, of course
but
not.
there are a few. And for you to know who those are ahead of time, just get your referrals and references as much as you can and talk to some people they've built for. Sure.
Shifting gears a little bit to things that are more specific to Southwest Florida homes. What do you think? I know you already mentioned humidity, but what are some of the common issues that you see in homes here in Naples and Fort Myers?
I see a lot of issues with roofs. They'll have, even if it's a new roof or one that's a few years old, cracked tiles,
Yeah,
broken concrete tiles, tiles that are sliding out and missing, or have moved out a little bit, or roofs that are only a few years old and they already have worn issues from like a tree rubbing up against the roof or things like that. So roof issues. Um, I see a lot of remodels that they don't know what the code is, so they'll put a residential door between the garage and the house, and that isn't going to work. And if you don't know and you don't have the home inspected, and it just gets left like that, and it's not okay. A lot of smoke detectors missing. Um, just little nitpicky things
yeah,
sometimes, but a lot of times it's a plumbing leak underneath the sink, and they don't know because they have the sink underneath the sink so full of shampoos and stuff
yeah,
that they don't know. But I use a thermal imaging camera. I turn on the hot water and let the hot water in the sink run for a while, and I get underneath the sink with my thermal imaging camera, and I look for any red drops underneath the sink, underneath the P trap. So there's little things that we do that you're not going to be able to afford $1,000 infrared camera, but I can, and that just gives me the peace of mind to know that it is not leaking. Then, yeah. So it's all kinds of things. I mean, I see stuff that would just blow your mind.
I can imagine. And I'm actually grateful for inspectors like you that actually do use technology like the infrared camera and stuff like that. Cause I know some inspectors don't, and they'll just do the bare bones minimum, maybe do a water meter test on the wall and that's it. So I'm always grateful when I find that when I see an inspector using stuff like the infrared camera, because that will pick up so much more than just doing a simple water meter on the wall.
Right, for sure, for sure.
Let me ask, do you ever see any recurring inspection issues with some of the coastal homes or some of the older homes that we see here in Southwest Florida?
I do. A lot of what I see is either people moving down to South Florida that are from a northern state and trying to do remodels on their own, or a contractor that is a friend of a friend that is coming down to help somebody do a remodel.
Oh yeah,
Our
yeah.
building envelope in Florida is completely different than anywhere else, to where the worst thing you can do is trap moisture inside of the home. And that's what I see is they'll put up plastic on the exterior walls because that's what's required in northern states. Here, you want the house to breathe as much as possible. You don't want to hold the humidity in. You want it to be able to go back out to the outside and everything to dry out. So a lot of times it's just builders or a remodeling people that don't understand what damage termites can do, or don't understand what plastic can do, and the humidity and how that works with the inside of the home and the total home picture. Um, just without local knowledge, if you don't grow up here, and that's why I didn't build, Daniel, when I moved here. I
Yeah.
considered it. I moved here in 2020. I thought about it, and my wife was like, "You need to start building. You could do so well." I'm like, well, maybe, but I don't know the Florida code. I don't know the contractors. I don't know the standard way of doing things here. It's completely different than Texas, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like to look at Florida as the Wild West. We are doing things completely different from the rest of the union, but here we are, and somehow we make it work.
That's true. That's right.
I know you hit on it a little bit at the beginning, but how important are things like the roof age, the electrical panels, the plumbing, the HVAC, when doing the home inspection, and how does that impact what the buyers are doing as far as trying to purchase a home?
So, getting a manufacturer date on the HVAC and making sure the exterior unit matches the interior unit as far as manufacturer date and the manufacturer, to make sure that your warranty is valid. If you just replace the outside unit and not the inside unit, and you don't know that that is the issue, and then a few months after you buy the home, your heating and air goes out, you call a heat and air company to come out, and they go, well, it's not under warranty anymore because the outside unit doesn't match the inside, and now we
No
can't
kidding, I didn't know that.
voided the warranty. Correct. Or, and that comes up on the 4 point inspection that I would be able to see that.
Right.
Um, your panel boxes, there's certain things that the insurance company looks for, like a double tap breaker on the in the panel on a breaker can only have one wire in it per leg of the breaker. If you have two, there's a few reasons why, and we don't have to get into all this right now. We can have me back on and we could talk about just 4 points because it's crazy.
I
But
would love that.
they don't lug down correctly on the breaker, and the home inspection companies just have a problem. I mean, the insurance companies have a problem with double tap breakers. So those are things that, it's not something that home inspectors just make up that we want to call out. but that's something the insurance company looks for. And so if the insurance company catches one that I don't catch, then I get in trouble and lose my license. So there's certain things like that. No, here's another one. On the wind mitigation, let's say that the previous owner replaced all windows and doors in their home with hurricane resistant windows and doors and spent, I don't know, $30,000 replacing all of that. But they did not replace their garage door, and their garage door has glass in it. They get credit for nothing. Nothing. So you bought this house thinking that it's fully protected for your insurance company. You bought this house thinking, oh, great, we're going to get all these deductions, and you don't get a home inspection and you don't get an updated wind mitigation inspection. You don't get credit for any of that until you get a new garage door.
Yeah, I actually learned that from you.
It's something and it's nothing. It's something that I can't hide. I would like to say that I could, just fudge the pictures and get it to go through, but I can't because the insurance company is getting so picky on pictures that I have to give them the pictures to give them, and they're gonna see what it is. So I have to report it. So
My last guest was an insurance agent, and we had a very similar conversation about like how picky they are and what they're looking for.
yeah, I mean, you could put a 30-year asphalt shingle on your house, which is supposed to be good for 30 years, an upgraded heavy duty shingle. And the insurance company says, no, it's only good for 15. It's, I don't know. That's just the way it's going. The insurance company is a lot like going to Vegas and expecting to win money every time. It just doesn't happen. So that you just kind of have to play their game and see. I'm not a big proponent or advocate for insurance. I think they will try to push one over on you anytime they can. But arming yourself with as much information about your home and giving them all of the information that they need will give you the lowest price that you can find on your insurance. But you got to be completely honest with them, or else they'll find it. They'll find it out somehow.
Yeah. And when buyers are looking at an inspection report, are there any issues that look scary on paper, but they're really just more normal maintenance issues?
Sure. I mean, I will on like a new build or an older.
Any inspection report.
Sure. So a lot of times I'll put on there little cosmetic things like paint defects or sheetrock defects or flooring. And it could be that I noticed something that you didn't notice, and it could be a big deal to the homeowner. It depends on um, what you look for as a when you're prospective buyer. The other thing too is the reason I offer a free reinspection is it could be that you want me to come back and look at the house again after the current owner has moved out. So sometimes things could get damaged, and then on your final walkthrough, it's too late to do anything about that. So did that answer your question?
Yes.
Um,
Sorry, I'm still getting over a
oh,
little
you're
bit of the
fine. You're
cold.
fine. But like doors out of adjustment and little paint issues or the attic not having a light in the attic or just things like that at least at least then you can say, okay, this is something I might need to budget for. This is something I need to take care of. And it's not even asking the money from the seller. It's just arming yourself with information.
And that kind of takes me to my next question. Inspection reports can be kind of overwhelming, right? Especially when you're looking through it. And inspectors, I mean, I know that an inspector will typically point out everything that they see in the house. And from my experience, you've get home inspectors that they'll color code stuff and everything. And just so you're aware of what's going on. And I feel like it can be a little overwhelming for a buyer sometimes when they see the report and all of a sudden, like there's three green, which is good, and we're, everything is good. And then there's a bunch of yellow, which might be maintenance required or suggested. And then, a couple of red, like immediate action necessary kind of thing. Um,
I've got a
do,
perfect answer for that.
Perfect.
I use three colors. I use blue is like just maintenance stuff, just so your information, so you know that this is going on. Just skim through it. Make it kind of a mental note. Yeah, I might want to address this and this and this. This is just things. But also the blue for a home inspector is I don't want to get sued. So I'm going to tell you as much as possible because we're in a sue happy world right
Yep.
now. And getting back to what I said before,
My girlfriend's a lawyer. Trust me, I know.
getting back to what I said before, nobody wants to accept responsibility for anything because they just want to make it somebody else's fault, which is that's it's just kind of the way it is. But the more I tell you, the less you're going to be surprised. And when you're not surprised, then you're not going to blame me as much for things that you didn't know. That's blue. Then we have orange. And orange is like, yeah, this is kind of an issue. I would budget for this, or I would maybe ask for this back from the seller. One thing to answer your question from earlier, I see all the time is GFCI plugs and GFCI breakers. I could put sometimes you'll see home inspectors putting a red on a GFCI breaker that is not protected because it's right next to the sink. The reason for that is it's a safety issue. It's if somebody plugs something in with wet hands next to the sink and the GFCI break or plug is not working, it could be bad, could be fatal. A GFCI plug itself, even if the homeowner installs it, they could do that themselves. They're $20. It's not like it's a major problem, but just because something is a safety issue, it is a major problem. But a lot of times people freak out and they don't understand that this is a 13, $15 part, and that's something you can do yourself. There's nothing saying that you can't.
It's an easy fix essentially.
Sure, sure, sure. But it's something you need to know. And then also, I use red too. Red is for a unprotected electrical device that if a kid opens the panel cover, they could get fatally electrocuted within seconds, or a active plumbing leak that is currently leaking as I'm inspecting, and like the water needs to be turned off to avoid damage to the home, or an active roof leak while I'm there. I've seen like actual roofs leaking while I'm inspecting. Well, that's a red, just because it would save the seller and save the buyer if they know as soon as possible that this is a major issue. And that doesn't mean it's not my job to kill a deal. Sometimes some realtors will get mad at a home inspector because they think, oh, you're just trying to kill my deal. No, some inspectors try to make
Who wins there? Like I never understood why agents say that to a home inspector.
the home inspector sometimes are guilty of trying to make the home inspection report about the home inspector and try to make things a lot worse than they really are because they feel like they need to find something to make the inspection cost okay for the client. I see that. I understand why that would be, but let's say I go inspect a home and I don't see anything that's an orange or a red. I just tell the client, I think you're getting a great home. It's not I'm not going to just, yeah, I could find stuff that would be more blues, but I didn't find anything that's super alarming versus finding something that's not very alarming and making it a big issue to make yourself feel better for charging them $500. That's what I think happens sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You mentioned major issues, right? So if for home buyers right now in today's market, is there something that they should be looking out for that would be necessarily a deal breaker versus an easy fix or something like that from a seller?
Let me think. Um, I would think the biggest one would probably be the roof or um, a major foundation issue that would result to enough money to where if you didn't know and you wouldn't be able to afford to fix it after you bought it, or you wouldn't be able to get insurance. Those are the major things I can think of that if you don't know that the pool heater doesn't work, the seller did not disclose that on their disclosure form, and you didn't get it inspected that it doesn't work, that's $10,000 that that you either have to replace or fix the plumbing back to where it'll work again, or else the pool is not usable. Or like the roof, I had mentioned the roof could have enough issues that the no home insurance company will cover it because it's just so old. And it could be 20, 30 if it's a tile roof and it's currently leaking and you didn't know, and then they don't want to cover it and it needs to be completely replaced, you're going to have to pay for that before you can get insurance. And that could result to a lot of money. So those are the major things I can think of as um, heating and air is expensive, or let's say there's a mold issue in the house that nobody knew about and you only found out after you bought the home, and now all of the ductwork needs to be replaced, and it was a pre-existing condition, so insurance won't cover it. These are all things that are very can get very expensive very quickly.
And I've seen it 100 times where it does. I agree with you 100%. Like for me, biggest thing is roof because I mean anything on a 4 point because if any of that's bad, you're not getting insurance. I mean that's a deal
Especially-
killer right there.
Well,
So
four
either
point
it's got to be fixed or again, deal's dead.
4 point is electrical, plumbing, heating and air, and roof. So those four things can be a major deal, like you're saying on a 4 point. Yes.
So with the 4 point, you just went over exactly what those are. What is the biggest difference between the 4 point and the full home inspection?
I do some 4 point inspections for some developers that are going to remodel the home. They're gonna completely redo all the flooring, redo all the cabinets. They don't care about the appliances. They want to know what kind of windows and doors you have, how old the roof is, and heating and air, and the mechanicals, and the plumbing, and make sure there's no leaks or anything they should know about. The 4 point is basically a mini. You can think of it as a mini home inspection report that is just the mechanicals of the home that just so happen to be the most expensive parts of the home, which doesn't shouldn't make you surprised because those are the things that the insurance company are wanting to know about because that's their biggest risk. So it's the four riskiest things inside the home. The home inspection, basically, I it's almost a copy, but for the 4 point, because it's an insurance inspection, I'm not as picky. So as long as it's not leaking, I won't make a big deal about something that might become a maintenance issue, like that I would cover on a regular inspection. I would make that a blue, be like, hey, your stops behind your sinks, they're old, they may not work properly. You might want to think about getting those replaced the next time you do any plumbing work. Um, Versus, I wouldn't say that on a 4 point to try to help you out on your insurance as much as possible.
Right. And excuse me. Um, so the 4 point, that's basically what we're turning over to the insurance company, right? I mean, that's how it helps the home buyer get the insurance approval, correct?
Right. And the the insurance company wants to know how old the water heater is, whether it has a high pressure relief valve, whether it has a drip pan, all these things. They, as long as it's relatively new and it's been installed properly, it'll should be okay. Now, I might go in and say, hey, you got a little bit of corrosion here and there on the home inspection report, and that makes it a little bit different. Whereas the insurance company just doesn't need to know about it, or
Right.
you know,
And the other thing that we're usually turning over to the insurance company is the wind mitigation report, which we kind of touched on a little bit, but kind of go a little bit deeper into exactly what that is and kind of explain what that is and how it helps home buyers save some money. Because you did mention credits earlier when we were talking about like the impact windows.
So on your insurance, you're gonna want a liability insurance which covers other people that are at your home, or it covers fire or damage to the home that does not include flood or high wind. Those are add-ons that you put on to the insurance policy. So when you add a high wind, what the insurance company wants to know is how old your roof is, because that dictates what code your home and your roof was built under. If your home was built after 2002 to 2003, it's under a different code, and the insurance company knows this because the county that the home was built in should be doing their job and inspecting for the things that is up to the code that they changed in 2002 2003. So they want to know the age of the home, the age of the roof. If the roof was put on recently, then it's under the newest code. Let's say, for example, it's a tile roof. Now you need a secondary water resistance or a peel and stick underneath the tiles. Before, you didn't. So they want to know whether you have a secondary water resistance on your roof or not. And the only way to tell that is, number one, the date the roof was put on, and number two, I find it and make sure that they have proof that it's there. Um, Another one is the roof is attached to the wall line. So whether you have clips, whether you have single wraps, double wraps, toenails, glue, screws, all the different options that you can use, and that dictates how well your roof is going to stay attached to the walls in the event of a hurricane. They also want to know how the sheathing on the roof itself is attached to the rafters. So whether that's staples, six penny nails, eight penny nails, what kind of sheathing it is. These are all the things that they want. So they have a standard form that all home inspectors use. Or you can get that done by a licensed builder or a contractor construction company sometimes.
Hmm.
But I will tell you that not every wind, mitt, and 4-point is going to be the same for each inspector for that home. You could get different results from different home inspectors that either know what they're doing or they could miss something. So it's a standard form, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always
It
going to
doesn't
get the
take the
same.
human element out of it.
It doesn't take the human element. Right. That's right. So what kind of windows you have, what kind of doors you have, whether those are impact rated or wind rated, garage door, impact rated, wind rated. And then we have to go in. It's kind of like an investigation kind of. So we go in and look at all of the permits and look at the stickers or the stamps so we can see in the actual materials and see whether that's a wind rated door or window or whether that's a hurricane. I can tap on the window and tell you whether it's a hurricane or not just by the sound that he makes, because I've done it so many times. And also, shutters, all the different kinds of shutters, they want to know all of that. So it's basically just the exterior envelope and how your house will withstand a hurricane is what a wind mitigation inspection is.
That was amazing. That was the best explanation I've ever gotten as to what it is.
It's just completely different. It's just a standardized way for insurance companies of all insurance companies to get the same information on the house that they are trying to get the policy for, so they know as much as possible of what risk they're taking by writing you a policy for that house.
Shifting back to what we were talking about a little while ago with sellers and pre-listing inspections. Um, when do you think is the best time for a seller to reach out to a home inspector and get that inspection done?
I would say before you even take your pictures, when you've met with your realtor, I would mention that you want to have that done. And I would have that done before the real estate agent orders the pictures to be done before it even puts your house on the market. I would want to know that would also dictate a little bit of your price if you're willing to give any concessions for anything in your home or the roof or anything. And then your pictures will be right if you need to have that work done first before it gets listed. So you're usually your first handful of buyers are the ones that are going to buy your house. And those are the ones you want to make sure that they have all the information about your home that's correct as possible. So I would get that done before I list it.
And again, I mean, just back to what I said a little while ago, right? Like, I would rather know what's there and be able to properly either disclose or fix it and get it done right. Make sure that it's good. Yeah, you're going to put a little bit more money into the property, but at that point now we're getting top dollar for the house because we've addressed these issues and we've fixed them.
Everybody thinks that their kid is the cutest, and everybody thinks that their dog is the
Yes.
smartest. I'm not saying my dog is the smartest, but nobody likes their baby to be called ugly. Me coming into your house and picking your house apart is not the point. The point is for me to do what you may be hard for you to do. I'll come in as a as a buyer, picky, very, very picky buyer, and let you know kind of where everything sits. Some people will come in and they want to know what kind of windows and doors you have, and the real estate agent may not know all of them at all the time and know what they're looking at. One other one I forgot to mention earlier, that's the polybutylene piping. That's another
Oh yeah.
a buzzword that we hear a lot.
Yeah.
It's a house or a mobile home that was built in the early 80s. Could have been built with polybutylene piping. The insurance company will not cover that home at all with polybutylene piping. They just won't. So that's one of the things, a deal killer, that if your real estate agent missed it, which happens, it happened recently for me. I went in to inspect and I said, we have a problem. And the insurance, I mean, they were counting on getting home insurance. I said, you're not now. And so the seller paid $8,000 to get the polybutylene switched out. They had to. But if they would have had a pre listing inspection,
Would
never
have known.
problem. Never would have been a problem.
Let's let's get into one of my favorite topics,
All
new
right. I love it.
construction. Um, do you does new do new construction homes need inspections? I mean, they're new builds, right? Like everything should be fine.
Yes. So I would recommend having an inspection done before you close. Now, some other things that most buyers don't know. There are a lot of builders that don't allow me as the home inspector to get on the roof. They don't allow me to get in the attic. They don't allow me to open up the panel cover. There's some things that they don't allow me to do. They will allow me to poke my head up into the attic, but I can't crawl around. I can't go anywhere past the scuttle hole or the pull down staircase. They won't allow me on the roof. I'm getting very, very good at drone inspections now because of that. And I can also put my ladder up. But if it's a 2-story house, you can't really see a lot from a ladder, so I
It's
rely on
hard. Yeah.
drone for that. What I like to do is to split the cost with the buyer. Getting a $700 home inspection when I can't get on the attic or can't get on the roof or in the attic or in the panel because of the builder restrictions. The biggest thing there is I make that less knowing and having a verbal commitment. Say, hey, yeah, I'm going to give you the chance to come back for the 11-month inspection. So I'll take money off of both to where everybody's happy. And getting it inspected at the 11-month is really as important or more important than getting inspected before you buy it, because things are going to move, things are going to shift around. You could have a very, very minor hurricane or a very, very minor wind event within that 11 months. And you could have broken tiles, you could have doors out of adjustment, you could have leaks underneath sinks, you could have things that the builder has to fix, that if without the 11-month inspection, and if you start to get into the next year and you go to fix those, you have to pay for them. There's no way to go back to the builder. One other thing, Daniel, before we go around to another topic, the your builder, let's say your homeowner goes to your builder and says, I've got a list of things that are wrong with the house that I've noticed in the 11 months, this, and this. The builder's going to go, yeah, haul around and maybe want to come look at it themselves and maybe send their handyman guy to put a Band-Aid on it. But if you have a home inspector that's a licensed home inspector, give them a home inspection 11-month report saying these are the things that are wrong, that's admissible in court. There's nothing they can say or dispute that, if as long as it's factual. But that gives a lot more credibility to their list, especially if they're having some trouble from the builder to get things addressed.
Got a story. A family member goes and buys a new build, and we're not talking like just a 300, $400,000 house. They bought a $1.4 million new build, inside a gated community, real pretty. Everything was supposed to be state of the art and everything. They didn't want to use a realtor. They just wanted to go in, go directly with the builder, and naturally, the builder didn't tell them anything about getting a home inspection or at any point in the process. Um, they moved in, and less than 2 months after they moved in, they discovered that there was water coming in from the roof, and it was to the point where it had pooled in the attic, and there was mold all throughout the second floor. It had gotten into the walls. It had gotten into like they had a pocket door in one of the rooms. The door, you pulled out the pocket door, covered in mold.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, really bad. I think to this day she's still dealing with litigation on that one. But I mean, I don't understand why people wouldn't want to get a home inspection. Again, I understand it's a new build. Everything is done new, and everything should be correct. But I I I encourage every buyer to get a home inspection no matter what.
The other thing about that too is when you get a home inspection, you have a licensed professional that is on your side, and as well as they understand the building and the house process, but they're there to support you in whatever they can do if a problem does come up, and you have the pictures of what it was before, and you have documentation. That way you can understand what happened and when. It could be that somebody got up on the roof, or somebody did something to some trim or to some flashings somewhere, and that caused the issue. You never know.
Right.
And so if you have a pre-inspection with your drone footage and everything, you can go back and have somebody to help you with that for sure. That helps. That is a crazy situation.
Yeah.
I Yeah, that, and man, that it's too bad that it does sometimes happen like that, especially on a new build, because I don't know, it's just like you don't think it's going to happen on a new
On a
build.
new build, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You never
but
expect there to be problems on a new build
just
because
like
everything
buying,
is new.
just like buying a new car. But
Right.
that's why they have warranties. Just because it's a new car, there's a human element in there, and there's a defect that could happen in materials in there. And a lot of that happens when people, a number of different reasons, car industry and in houses, those are both big purchases that we make, is the human element, and also how much of a rush they were, or if they had to change vendors for any reason and they're not familiar with the new materials or the new process with a different way of doing things that they're used to doing, and that can create a lot of problems.
Let me ask you, with new builds, do you recommend to buyers who are buying, like, let's say they buy in a Taylor Morrison, Lennar, any of these communities, and they're buying it when it's still just a lot? Do you recommend several inspections at phases in construction?
I haven't done any of those. Um, I'd like to say that when you're building a home, there's over 40 county inspections that are supposed to be done, and they are should be as knowledgeable as me or more knowledgeable about different things. Do they do those inspections properly every time? Hmm. If your inspection's on a Friday afternoon and they're late to their kid's baseball game, they could be doing a drive-by inspection and just pass it.
And they
Or
know the
hey,
builder, and
I
they're
know
just
the
like, yeah,
builder,
we know how Lennar works. All right, yeah, we're good.
right? And so we're just going to pass it. Now, the county also they have some protections built in, just like me, that they're not going to be responsible for that because a inspection, a code inspection is there's ways for them to get out of that. I mean, we're not going to hold them to the fire somehow. But I I wouldn't I would not I would probably recommend that, but I need to be careful because as a home inspector, our job is not a code enforcement inspection, but would I notice something during pre-drywall that could have been fixed and is a lot cheaper? Yes. A lot of times it's framing issues I see in attics that it's been there since the house was built. And that's something that the framing inspector should have caught, but somehow didn't. Um, just unsupported things or the hurricane straps not putting on right, and then now we're trying to get homeowners insurance, and the hurricane straps aren't on right. They didn't use 3 nails, and then now we have to tear off a roof and tear off sheathing in order to add more nails onto the straps to make it okay.
Luke, before we kind of wrap things up,
Yeah.
just a couple of pro tips, right? So, what are three things that every buyer should know before scheduling their home inspection?
Okay. 3 things. First one is important. The most important is, can the home inspector get into the home, or will somebody there be there to let me in? I can't get a one of those lockbox codes that you realtor use. What are they called?
Super boxes.
Yeah, yeah. I can't get a code to one of those. I've tried. I can't do that. Um, so make sure that I have access. Make sure that you call the gate of your HOA to make sure that they'll let me in, especially on a Saturday or Sunday. Sometimes they don't have a gate attendant, and then I pull up to do an inspection. Nobody called. You're not answering the phone, or the homeowner isn't there, and the buyer doesn't have access to any of that, and I can't get to my inspection. What that does for an inspector is it kind of messes up our day because we had blocked off 4 or 5 hours of our time, and now we just have nothing to do. And it not very nice. The other thing is make sure that the water's on, the electricity is on, the gas is on, and everything has power that it needs to have, and that the building is uh, as finished as it needs to be for the inspection. I've gone to some inspections and they were putting up gutters when I got there. Well, I also inspect the gutters, so I had to come back and re-inspect those, and that's not really my fault, not really the homeowner's fault, it's not the gutter company's fault. It's just things that happen, you know. But just a lot of communication. So that's the first two, and then the third one is ask your inspector whether they are okay with you being with them or not for the inspection as far as the client goes. I don't care one way or the other. You want to follow me around, that's fine. There's some inspectors that don't like that because they have a flow. They like to look at things a certain way, and could slow them down or make it awkward for them, or especially if they're not comfortable with you just following them around. Also, your
Usually
dog.
for my buyers, I'll go in their place, and when the inspector's about an hour out from finishing, I'll call my buyers and be like, "Hey, there's probably about an hour left. Do you want to come at the end and just have a quick conversation, or would you rather wait for the report and then we can go over everything together?"
Yeah,
I
I
give
love
them
that.
the option, you know.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Um, and then also, I one thing I don't like to do, I don't like to inspect with the homeowner at home. Um, they like to follow
Point
you
everything out that they can.
and show you what a door is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm I'm pretty sure I can run that door myself. Oh, that's the garage door opener button. I see. So these are things that slow me down, or a dog nipping at my heels as I'm trying to inspect. So just be considerate, but a lot of communication, and just make sure that you ask a lot of questions. Do they use infrared camera? Do they use a drone? Will they get on the roof? Will they get in the attic? What will they cover? What don't they cover? I don't inspect or try all of the landscape um, uh, sprinklers. Most don't. I don't inspect the pool because my insurance company that I insure with, they don't allow me to. Most don't. I don't. These are just things that you just need to ask what is or is not included, because you just need to know as much as you can before they get there.
Um, what about homeowners? Is there anything that they should be doing in the home annually to just kind of keep things in good shape, so that way when a pre-listing inspection comes around, they're not finding these big surprises?
Oh, I love that. So the main thing is, on your heating and air unit, you want to be replacing the filter every month. If you have pets in the house, it is not to hurt to do it every 2 times a month if you can. All of your heating and air
Don't tell
filters.
me that. I got a lot of work to do that.
Yeah. Also, like sometime when it's raining, just grab an umbrella and walk around your house. Literally. Well, while it's raining, safely grab an umbrella and just walk around your house. You will be surprised what you see that you didn't know. I didn't know that my gutter was literally dumping water right on top of a window, or right on top of my heating and air unit, and or all over my eh, um, electrical box. These are things that over time can save you a lot of money, because it, like a sprinkler head shooting your electrical box every time it runs and you didn't know, that's just going to make things deteriorate that much faster. So drainage is another big one to understand. And then understand that a home inspector needs to get in your attic. So don't have a bunch of boxes and personal items underneath the attic access. They need into the electrical panel. So don't put a refrigerator right in front of it. Um, Most home inspectors won't touch your personal belongings or move things out of the way. I usually will, but I'll ask for permission. But sometimes, if it's a matter of me protecting my client or not, I might move a few of your things, but I'll move them right back. But those are the main things. To anything that is in the way of us inspecting, and move that out of the way, is very helpful.
Good. What's one piece of advice that you wish every buyer and seller would listen to when it comes to home inspections?
I do home inspections for a number of reasons, but the main thing is to support myself and my family. The main thing I would like everybody to understand is the home inspection should um, pay for itself. Now, am I going to find something on every single inspection that pays for itself? Yes, maybe no. But the home inspector is there as a resource for you after you buy the home, and is there to accurately record the condition of the home, to where when something happens, they have a report saying, this is what I had. Here's all the serial numbers of my air conditioning systems. And that way, when there's an issue, they already have all that documentation. My report is digital, So it's out there on the internet forever. So you can pull up your house at any time you want to see what something looked like, or you can call your inspector for recommendations on things. We want to try to help you. We want to be a knowledge resource for you for your home. I think buying a home is the most important thing that you can do to save you money. Instead of paying somebody else's rent, you're paying your own.
Yep,
And
100%.
the realtor's job is to find you the right house for you. It's my job to make sure you understand everything about that house that you can. To You're going to have issues. So what I like to do is to have
Joys of home ownership.
the homeowner's going to have issues, but what I like to do is to have, just like when you buy a car, you need to know where you're going to get your brakes done or your tires replaced or a collision place, because it's inevitable. Something's going to happen. So the first thing you need to do is have a plumber that you're going to want to call and have maybe a maintenance agreement with the heating and air company to where you have less excitement happening. So your air conditioner is going to go out on Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July, your birthday, or on a Saturday or Sunday. That's when it happens. Your sewer will back up, all those things. You have a house full of people, and that's when the cold water won't work on one of your plumbing valves. That's what happens. So when that happens, you need to know who to call and already have a relationship.
Could not agree more. Let me tell you, I had my AC go out one 4th of July weekend.
Oh,
That was the worst experience ever.
and it's expensive for you to get somebody out to work on it. But if you
Oh
know
my
somebody
God, it was
already,
ridiculous.
it may not be as bad if they already know your system and they know you and you have a relationship already.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Um,
Find out what they drink. Why don't you come to my 4th of July party?
hey, while you're here, grab a
Hey,
beer and go check out the HVAC.
have a burger.
Luke, this has been awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Where can people find you if they are ready to schedule a home inspection?
Uncle Luke's Home Inspection.com is my website. Uncle Luke's Home Inspection at gmail.com email. And I have one cell phone, and I'm the only inspector, and I run my own company and my own business, and I answer my cell phone, which is also my personal, but it's okay. Uh, but my phone number is on my website. Call me anytime. Texting works, email work, call work, whatever. So I'm always available, but always trust your realtor first, for sure.
Could not agree more with that last statement, too. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for sticking through. This has been great. Please call Uncle Luke if you have any home inspection needs. This is one of the best assets that you could have, whether you're buying or selling here in Southwest Florida. This is Luxury Living Southwest Florida. And if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications for any future videos and for everything that's coming up here in Southwest Florida. Thanks again.